All right, so the season is over, but we want to go back to a monumental point in the season. Is even more monumental than Max's single lap in Suzuki, which was brilliant, where he basically took and went head straight into tight corners with no wing at all and put that thing through like an arrow. So what I'm talking about now is Max's P1 in Q3 at Abu Dhabi. If you don't know it now, maybe you've overlooked it. That was a masterpiece. And the reason it was a masterpiece is because Abu Dhabi's, especially with Sector 3, is very sinewy and has a lot of corners and almost no straight. And it's the type of track, a sector that Lando Norris would usually wipe, even though Verstappen may be a better driver. Lando Norris in the MCL 39 would wipe his ass with Verstappen on that sector. And not only did Verstappen beat him over one lap on that track, he even had a faster time on that sector, which is usually the territory of only McLaren. It has a lot of winds and everything. It's the type of car where you have to have a lot of rear stability. And with the way that Verstappen usually drives with his F1 with his RB, not F1, RB 21, he usually puts a lot too much on his front tires. And just in general, the RB21, even though it's improving, doesn't have the stability to handle that type of windy section, which is part three. And on top of that, sector three. And on top of that, sector one going into the first corner is a very tight chicane, which takes a lot of stability if you're going to brake hard and if you're going to have to and puts a lot brake hard with the brakes and then have to turn around and then you're going to need traction to accelerate off the corner. We know that McLaren has a lot more stability and traction. So we're still asking ourselves, how was Verstappen able to negotiate that corner five? Then corner six and seven, which are tight chicanes, and then uh, 12, which is also a tight chicane, with a car that doesn't have the type of traction that McLaren has, where you need to be able to brake hard on those corners and then turn around again and with your traction get acceleration into the straights. How was he able to, with a car that doesn't have all of that, out qualify Lando Norris by 2/10 of a second, which is massive. It's absolutely massive. Well, I'm going to argue that the reason he was able to do that is number one, but McLaren's advantage on winding tracks is usually when they're gentle, when they're curves, which are constant and gentle, and don't have little micro tight uh, chicanes or things like that. I'm calling them chicanes, but technically some of these things are not chicanes. But where it's not just a smooth succession of winding corners, the corners wind and they'll have a little bit of a break again, a sharp angle, which is 90 degrees or 80 something degrees. And that's the type of thing that where it's no longer just a winding sector. It's a sector which is technical. And we all know that once we get into technical, whether it's windy or not, the more technical a track is, the better it is for Verstappen. The more technical it is, the worse it is for Norris because Norris wants everything to be free and flowing. So that's the first thing. The second thing is that even though he may not have as much traction and balance as the McLaren car. Verstappen had a very low downforce, pointy car, and what he was doing was rather than try to have more speed going through the corner than Norris, what he does is he comes at a higher speed into the corner. That's his kamikaze style, and is able to rotate and just take the momentum to get around the corner, so that even if McLaren has more traction and everything, he has more momentum. So that's how he was able to. And trust me, it's insane to do that. What he did takes hundreds and thousands of hours of practice, and also an innate feel for grip at the micro level on the track and within you. So all I'm saying now is that it was Verstappen's ability to carry a lot of speed into corners to have more momentum, even though McLaren can go faster through the corners. And then also the fact that he is able to when he's going through a corner, he's able to take lines to make it more efficient. Like I heard that he was taking lines that would give him better a better chance to get more speed on the straight, even though it would slow him up a little bit on the corner. So it's an ability to adapt his technique, adapt the lines that he takes, even his footwork to make sure that the car is stable while he's doing all of that. So that's why he was able to beat Norris. Also, he wouldn't have been able to do that if Red Bull didn't get the setup right because the car was the most balanced it's ever been. So the car was closer to McLaren in balance and stability. So it was, even though it's still a little bit more unstable, it wasn't so unstable that Max Verstappen wasn't able to pull off the magical feat he did. What are your thoughts, Kunle?
Well, I mean, first off the bat, the first thing that I'm going to say about Verstappen is
Yeah.
what he has in common with Schumacher, that great drivers always have in common, is that ability to brake late. Schumacher was a master of braking late.
Yeah.
And in Verstappen's case, he employed, because he employed a square racing line, which involves braking, exceptionally late. And
Yeah.
that gave him, and turning the car in sharply. So he was able to get in on the power sooner. And this contrasts with the more traditional
Yeah.
racing lines that, and braking points generally used by the drivers, including Norris. And then there's also Verstappen's ability to handle oversteer in what is a very pointy car.
Yeah.
And most drivers prefer a more stable car for rear confidence, but Max can control the rear at the absolute limit of the
Yeah.
car. And allowing for faster. So he corners really well. He enters a corner and comes out far quicker than other drivers, and that's where he tends to pick up times when you're seeing him running times on the three sectors, especially during qualifying. You
Yeah.
can see where he takes those, and he doesn't make mistakes under pressure. He drives
Yeah.
so well, regardless of the conditions, whether it's wet or dry. He's like a machine. He adapts so well to all the conditions,
Yeah.
and his work ethic as well is second to none. And when
Yeah.
you combine all those things, but the main thing that strikes me is the fact that I remember Schumacher was so famous for braking late, and
Yeah.
that's I think what makes the difference to be called a truly great driver.
But here's the thing though. Schumacher was driving cars that were a lot more nimble and you could manhandle. Also, what's his name? Hamilton. But the thing that's crazy about this braking late, and especially as Verstappen did here, his car is not stable, so that even if he brakes late, the instability will cause cause on him to slide or to have understeer. But we have to say that Red Bull in this final race gave him the ability to use, no, gave him the leverage to use his ability to brake late without having to pay the price because the car was due to its suspension and too much stiffness and a floor that wasn't flexible. It wouldn't have been good. I mean, Max Verstappen may be Superman, but he's not God. Max Verstappen can't make 2 + 2 = 6. So what I'm trying to say is that the car was in the condition. Second of all, even if the car isn't that great, he's now taking his ability to brake late on an unstable car and still be able to balance it. So what that means is that not only is he's braking late, but he's not braking, and he's braking late and hard. But at the same time, because he has such a feel for grip, even after he's braking late and hard, he's controlling the rotation of the car to be able to counter whatever abrupt movements there are. So in other words, he breaks late and hard, but then change subtly and patiently and micro awarely of all the grip so that he can turn around. Because if we had tried to break late with that car, it will end up spinning and flipping the way that remember when Tsunoda flipped on that car? You get my point. So what it is that
Yeah,
even after he breaks late or hard, it's a precarious situation because his car doesn't have the type of stability that McLaren does, but he's able to do a balancing act. He does so in other words, break late and hard and then do an exquisite subtle balancing act to keep the car's momentum going through the corners. You see what I'm saying? So yeah, so that's a fantastic thing that he did. Let's also talk about what you were talking about. Because his car was more stable and he had a lot of confidence in his skill, he was getting on the throttle earlier, a lot earlier than Norris, a lot earlier to speed up because he was confident not only in the fact that the car was more stable, he's confident that he has supreme skills. He was getting on it earlier. He was staying on it longer. Like you said, he was breaking a lot later, and all of that just gives you a formula for success. Because to beat Norris, who's a one lap wonder man, by point two of a second in a faster car, that was a fantastic result by him. What thoughts do you have?
yeah. I would also like to say, Sunoda, whilst we know he's not as good as we hoped he would be, he's not as
Hey
bad
man,
as
hey man, don't disrespect me. I'm right here. I am good. You saw what
yeah,
they did
but
to Checo, right? Go ahead. I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
he's not as bad as people make out.
Oh
I
yeah,
think Red Bull made a big mistake getting rid of Perez because we saw Sonoda continue with the same struggles
yeah.
that
There is it.
this Australian chap had when he took over from
Oh,
Perez.
he's
Um,
actually from New Zealand.
yeah, New
Yeah,
Zealand, sorry, the nice Australian country. We saw
yeah,
how he struggled. And then we saw how he pulled it back. And I think that was because he needed the time to adapt to the. Was it Weber? I'm not sure. Um, who was
No, no, I'll
driving
find out his name.
so
How come we can't remember his name? Go ahead.
I can't remember his name. I just remember he's Australian. I'm saying
Yeah.
Weber, but I can't remember. That's
No,
what
it's
I'm
not
saying.
him. Go ahead.
Um,
Just go ahead. I'll remember it. Yeah.
yeah, so when we saw how Sunoda brought it back, I would try to imagine that the Perez bringing it back. I think that they could have won the constructors this year if Perez had stayed with them. Perez
Liam
was
Lawson.
struggling
Liam
around.
Lawson. Yeah, Liam
Liam
Lawson.
Lawson, that's it. So Perez was struggling around eighth or so when he left. He was struggling around eighth. Then
Yeah.
Lawson came, and then he went all the way well down below eighth. And
Yeah.
then Sunoda came in, and then he was well down below. He was about 12th, and then he's worked his way back up to eighth. That means that if they just kept Perez, he would have worked his way back up to the top
Oh
five
yeah,
or
no,
top
Perez,
six.
and he has experience. Perez won races, and he came fourth overall with Racing Point. So that we all know that was a travesty how Perez was treated.
That was a mistake. That
And he
was a
was the first
mistake.
person to. He even sensed that the car was losing it while they were winning before Verstappen did, and they laughed at him. They say ain't nothing wrong with this car. You just paranoid. Then when he's now slipping all over the track, what's wrong with you? And during that period, Verstappen wasn't driving well either. It's just that because of Verstappen is more adaptable, he came back. You know that he came back
Yeah,
from
and
it.
they shouldn't have taken him away from both the drives. They should have at least sent him to Red Bull too. They shouldn't have just cut him short like that and then did his time. He
Yeah,
had so much more to offer the sport than that. I think
yeah.
that the way he was removed was
No,
unfair.
thank God he's
I
back
think that
with
I
Cav.
think that there are other teams that could have should have taken him. I think
Yeah,
that Cadillac missed the trick not picking him um, because I think
not picking
Perez
who.
is better than
The
the.
Perez is in Cadillac. He's in Cadillac. Yeah,
Oh, Perez is in Cadillac.
yeah, yeah. So he
There
has a
you
chance.
go.
Thank God. You know him and
Oh, there you go.
Botas. That's a good one though. That's a good team right there. What I mean is,
Yeah.
they may not win, but they're very entertaining and they're both professionals, so they're not going to embarrass themselves. That's going to be good. Yeah. All right. So
Yeah,
yeah,
well, let's see what the car's like though,
yeah,
because
yeah, yeah. But the only
apparently it's
advantage,
going to be
the only good
unveiled at
thing
the
is this.
Super
Here's
Bowl.
what I believe will happen. Their car is going to be close to the other cars next year when they first start because all the cars will be generic. But then as the year goes on, they're going to as the seasons go by, they're going to fall behind due to a lack of great engineers and stuff because they're a new team, so they don't have the best pick of the lot. But at first, it won't seem like a lot because all the cars will be a little bit equal, you know. But
Yeah,
once McLaren starts doing its sim testing and stuff, although you got to remember, if they come last, they get more money for sim testing. And let's not forget the Cadillac is funded by Americans and Saudis, so they're gonna have a lot of money. So maybe, but the thing is, by the time they start doing well, will be 3 or 4 years from now. So, what are your last thoughts about Verstappen and how he's actually improved the way he drives over one lap because he used to use aggressive V style, but now he alters his lines and he's flexible in not needing as much. He's flexible in making trade offs and he's not adamant about having super pointy. He tells them, okay, give me a mixed car since this is a mixed track. And I think that's why he was able to do well in Abu Dhabi because he was more flexible and adaptable and doesn't need to always have like that super pointed rocket ship, even though it's always going to be pointed to a degree. What are your thoughts?
yeah. I mean, we didn't even amongst all this conversation about all these things that he's being able to do, able to handle pointy cars, able to handle the oversteer. We forgot to also mention the fact that he's a very aggressive driver, but at the same time, he knows how to manage his tires supremely well. I've never seen
Yeah.
him have problem with his tires. I mean,
Nah,
he moans a lot on the radio. He's always having a good moan about about one thing or the other, saying his car is slippery, etc., etc. But he's always done well. He's always managed his tires well. He's never had a tire problem. He's always managed to get the most out of his drive, out of the drive. You combine that with all the other abilities he has. He is the closest thing that we have in the sport to the perfect driver right now. And
yeah,
we wonder where the challenge will come from next season. I think because he's not in the best car. If he was in
yeah.
the best car, it would be like a Schumacher or Prime Hamilton type Formula One, where the same
Six,
guy
six,
wins
7 years,
every single
years in a row.
is all
Yeah.
boring. I think the reason it's interesting is because he's not in the fastest car. Not to say
Mhm.
Red Bull is the fast car. Red Bull is a good
No,
car.
but he's not in a consistently
I
fast.
think
He's not. The
Mercedes
car is
and
not
a couple.
consistently fast. It's not consistently because it's narrow. His window is too narrow. But you know what's scary? He won 5 out of the last 8 races because they fixed their window, so they had a broader window. The way Verstappen went through the first half of the season, of the second half of the season, winning, I mean, the last third of the season, winning 5 of 8. If his car had had that floor at the beginning of the season, it would have looked like 2023 where he blew everybody out. That's what's scary about it. Because you notice that once they brought that floor in, he started dominating. He only lost twice in the last 8 races, and that was in Brazil and Mexico. And then remember, in Brazil, he came from P24 because he had to start
Yeah,
from the side.
2023 Red Bull dominated. I mean, Perez
Yeah.
came second.
No, and and that's
They
how it looked at the end of the
won
year. Look
so
at the
many
way
races that season.
that's how it looked at the end of this year. So all Verstappen needs is an exceptionally fast car that's stable. Once he has that, he's going to really destroy people. In fact, it doesn't even need to be fast. It just needs to be stable and pointy. That's it. All right. Yeah,
Yeah,
take
I
us
think
out.
that if it
Go
so,
ahead.
it's been an interesting.
No,
It's
no, go
been
ahead. You
an
were going to say
interesting.
something. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say that Verstappen doesn't need the fastest car. He doesn't even need the second fastest car. I think the third or fourth fastest car with that he can win a championship.
Yeah.
That's to tell you how good a driver he is. I
But
think that
also
when I
he'll
think
always need a car that's made for low downforce because he likes to do so. That doesn't mean it's faster, but he needs cars that have less and less downforce as possible so that he can maximize his speed. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
yeah. So I think the Ferrari missed a trick. The inconsistencies of Leclerc and Ferrari had a good car.
No, they
They're,
had a
they're
good
like
car.
they're like a team that did badly, but they have star players. I think that's I don't know. And they
Like
have to go back and
Barcelona.
figure
Like
out
Barcelona.
there or is it Madrid? Like Madrid against
Yeah,
Man
Real
City.
Madrid. Real
You
Madrid
know,
lost
so they
yesterday.
need
They lost to
yeah,
City beat
despite
Madrid.
all the Galacticos nonsense.
Galacticos. Mbappe, Mbappe,
Galactico.
Mbappe, Mbappe, Mbappe.
Mbappe. Did Mbappe
Dumbass.
Mbappe didn't play. He benched him the entire game. I didn't see him come on.
Oh yeah, that guy needs to be careful of their coach. But Mbappe is, to me, honestly, he's a useless player because he doesn't track back, he doesn't press.
Um,
Oh, we're talking about football now. Yeah,
exactly.
yeah. Take us
Yeah,
out, man.
yeah. So Ferrari have become the Real Madrid of Formula One right now. They need to sort themselves out. So there's been an interesting look at how and why Verstappen was able to dominate Norris in the last few races at Abu Dhabi and Qatar and Las Vegas in order to win the title. We've discussed his abilities, and we look forward to next season when all the rules change and it's a new slate for everybody. And from myself, and Mustafa, we wish you good night, farewell, Merry Christmas, adieu. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we will see you on the next
Thank you. You need to patent your finish so that nobody steals it.
one.